Hi again. Before we get started, I just wanted to say that I don't feel like an expert. That being said, when I look back at how much I've done and how long I've been doing it for, I kind of feel like I should be an expert. At the very least, I think my younger self would have benefited from meeting me now. That would be cool. Or it would have been cool. Or would be cool. Either way, I'm here to offer 5 lessons from my 35 years of creative experience as a musician, graphic designer, and writer that I would tell my younger, less experienced, and much skinnier self. And to be clear, I'm not saying that I have all this stuff together. I'm still working on myself, but I feel like I'm much more aware of the things that I need to work on. So diving right in, lesson 1, take yourself seriously, but not too seriously. And right out of the gate, I'm giving you a world-class piece of advice here. There is nothing more valuable than your mental health. And this first lesson is really about the difference between having a passion for what you do and being hypercritical. You should be serious about creating and set an intention to do the best work possible, but that needs to be driven by the love of the game. Striving to be better doesn't need to mean constant disappointment in yourself. So when you beat yourself up about not being good enough or not being as good as someone else, you're not doing yourself any favors. Just know that you're working against yourself with that kind of thinking. And hey, I've done it a lot. I went through a long period of not being able to really enjoy music, both as a performer and as a listener, due to hypercritical thinking. But that being said, we should take ourselves seriously. We should take what we do seriously. We should put an unbelievable amount of time and effort into what we do, but that time and effort needs to be enjoyable. Lesson 2, don't deny your true self. Okay, this sounds like a weird one, but I think when we're starting out, there's a tendency to want to make work that fits in with whatever trends are popular at the time or is in line with a certain tradition in whatever field we're getting into. We all have creative heroes. It's normal to want to make work that reflects our respect for them, even if it stops short of imitation. I think it's a vital process that we go through, immersing ourselves in the worlds of these heroes and trying to raise ourselves up to their level. But don't forget to reconnect with yourself, the influence from your past that you were afraid were uncool or not serious enough, the things you tried to pretend you weren't actually into anymore. But not only that, reconnect with your present self too. There's always more to discover. Our identity is often so tied up with the work that we stifle ourselves by not allowing new growth because it just doesn't feel like us. But that's where innovation comes from. Finding places for those quirky parts of ourselves and drawing on inspiration that is outside of what we think is accepted, which ties into the next lesson. Lesson number 3, strive for curiosity. I think curiosity is super important to success in any creative field. It's ultimately the thing that brought you to creativity in the first place. When we lose our curiosity, we lose our ability to grow. I think when we're starting out, everything is new and we can't get enough. Our curiosity is in overdrive. But there's a point when we feel like we should be an expert, or we want to project an image of someone who knows stuff. We don't want to come across as a noob. I wish I could go back and tell my younger self to embrace the noob. Don't focus on how much you know, but rather how much there is to learn. Honestly, I really wish I could go back and tell my younger self to take his head out of his ass. And I think this is specifically about when I got to college. It's probably a defense mechanism, but even though I did probably have more experience playing gigs than most of the students coming in as freshmen, I think I could have learned much more from the other students and the teachers, but I didn't want to admit that I didn't already know something. So past self, don't be like that. Speaking of school, that kind of rebellious don't tell me what to do stance is kind of what the next lesson is about. Lesson 4, don't reject routine. This might actually be the number one lesson for me personally. Well, Scott, why didn't you just put it first then? I know, but I'm not sure it's as applicable to you as it is to me or my past self. However, for me, I always avoided any kind of routine when it came to my creative work. Music, design, writing, which I think has to do with breaking free from school. We grow up in these institutions that are objectively inhumane. 5 days a week, having our movement dictated by a series of bells. It was too much structure for me. But as an adult, I've realized that I actually function better with some sort of routine. I wish I had learned this earlier, but it wasn't until I had been teaching drums at the same art school for about 5 years. When I first started teaching, my schedule was all over the place. I didn't set any boundaries for myself, and I would schedule students whenever it was best for them. I ended up with a pretty random schedule with big gaps and sometimes only a few students on one day, but another day was seemingly non-stop teaching into the night. And I was always getting the days mixed up, showing up at the wrong time on the wrong day, and sometimes just not showing up when I should have been there. Meanwhile, my creative work suffered. My mind was so scattered, I didn't have the focus to write music. And then one year I accidentally hit on a perfect schedule. 3 consecutive days a week, Monday through Wednesday, each day starting at the same time and ending roughly about the same time. I started going in early each day to compose or practice, and since then I've tried to hold on to that schedule as much as possible. By consolidating these lessons into 3 equal chunks, it creates huge uninterrupted blocks for me to get creative work done. It also takes the pressure off to remember all the random times I needed to show up and alleviates a lot of stress. Lesson 5, skip the jealousy. For the 5th and final lesson, I think we could all do with less jealousy. This was a problem for me for a long time, and honestly, I still get jealous sometimes. When I hear about drummers I know from New York or that I went to school with that are touring with a well-known jazz artist, you know who you are. Or when I see a certain podcaster or YouTuber whose channel suddenly takes off while mine is still puttering. Like and subscribe, by the way. God, that feels so awkward. I have a tendency to feel a certain tightness in my chest. That's usually my initial physiological response. It's jealousy. This can get out of control if you don't recognize it and deal with it. When we see other people we know, or even if we don't know them personally, when we see other people doing well around us, that doesn't have to automatically mean that we're not doing well. Jealousy sprouts up out of our own insecurities. I like to think of it as this little demon that is stoking your negative emotions and preying on your feelings of inadequacy. But you have to remember that how well someone else is doing has nothing to do with what you're doing. I've gotten better at recognizing it and processing it right away, but it took me a long time to realize that it was actually something I was doing, that it wasn't being done to me. So one quick way to defuse jealousy, like a bomb, is try to imagine how you would feel about the other person's success if they were your child. Really, it's as simple as that. They're someone's child, and the pride a parent feels when their child does well is huge. And maybe this works for me because I have kids, but when we direct our focus onto the positive emotions of others, our own negative emotions subside. And instead of feeling resentment that someone else got some gig you wish you had or landed some client you wish you had gotten, you feel happy for them. Because we're all connected. We're all part of a larger community. The more I do this conscious refocusing, the quicker I get at it, and now I get that tightness in my chest less and less. I just wish I could have figured this out sooner. So there are certainly more lessons I could share with you and my younger, more handsome self, but I think these 5 are maybe the most high impact: taking yourself seriously but not too seriously, not denying your true self, striving for curiosity, embracing routine, and skipping the jealousy. These are all things that would have made me happier, more authentic, and more productive, and still can. And I think they can do the same for you. So real quick, before we stop, write these 5 lessons down on a piece of paper or somewhere, and underneath each one, write 2 or 3 times they could have helped you. What would you have done differently? And look, we can't change the past, but we can learn from it, right? This isn't about dredging up bad memories, but it's rather about extracting some value from our past. So when these kinds of situations and feelings happen again, we'll have a better idea of how to handle them. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, keep the flow. Record, okay. So recording audio, recording video. Here's a clap. And I'm just gonna turn like this. And let's see, I need to be a little bit further this way. Slight lean in. I think that's good. Like a little bit of a lean. Okay. A little lean. I wish I was a little more lean.